How we doing, guys? My guest today is going to be Nick Page. Nick is a member of the U.S. ski team as a freestyle mogul skier. He's the 2021 FIS Rookie of the Year and the 2021 U.S. National Champion. He got his first World Cup podium this past year, only his second year on the World Cup Tour. In this episode, we go through and discuss Nick's career so far, how he sets his goals, and how he approaches this upcoming season and run towards the Olympics in Beijing. We also go through and discuss who has helped Nick during his career and what continues to drive him each and every day as he looks to the future and continuing to do his best. Also, In the Arena is donating $250 on Nick's behalf to the ID1 Foundation, which funds U.S. mogul athletes in reaching their full potential. I hope you folks enjoy. Thanks. See, there's the ding.
Yep, there it is.
That didn't used to exist on Zoom. You know, that's like a new Zoom thing that I'm still getting used to. I remember the first time that happened when I was recording one of these. Kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh, what is that noise? I'm not ready for that. But anyway, Nick, dude, thanks for taking the time, man. I know you've been busy grinding all summer. I really appreciate you coming on the show, my dude.
Absolutely. You know, I couldn't think of a better person to spend my time talking to. So thanks, Bobby, for thinking of me.
You are a class act all the way around, as usual. So how has the summer training been for you so far?
You know, it's been great. We've been really lucky to get as much in as we can, even with kind of some COVID guidelines and COVID restrictions. We're still being able to buckle down and get to work, which is awesome. Yeah. And right now we're spending a lot of time up at the water ramps, kind of get ready to get back to snow soon, which hopefully will happen over the next few months. But yeah, it's going great, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into the swing of things.
Now, for most out there, I mean, are you know, the water ramps can definitely be like the dog days of summer, especially if you're living in a place close to Lake Placid or Park City or in Canada, or you spend a lot of time at the water ramps. So I'm curious for you, like, what helps you break up the monotony and the dog days of summer when you're going in and you're trying to get that volume to kind of build in and focus in on things. But sometimes, you know, that can be a little tough. You know, you can kind of be a little bit hard to break through when you're like, okay, I got another 20 jumps here, 20 jumps there. You know, it's hard to break that up a little bit. So I'm curious for you, what helps you there?
No, that's a great point. I think I'm very lucky in the sense that, you know, I've lived here in Park City, you know, 10 minutes from the water ramp my whole life. So this has been really since I was, you know, 7 years old. This has just been part of my summer was, you know, this is what I do. And what makes it really easy is how much I love it. I mean, it's a great piece of training. It's something to get better at and all. But more than anything, it's one of my favorite ways to pass time. I mean, just getting out there, trying new tricks, learning something new, and trying to perfect everything that I already do is that's so much fun to me. That strive for perfection is really one of the things that always keeps me going. And keeping kind of in that same ritual and routine can really help. And then getting to, you know, mix it up and go throw a new trick that I've never done before, or try something totally, you know, out of left field and new. And that really makes it fun. But also, you know, and as you said, it can get very monotonous. And some of those dog days where you're, you know, the 7 a.m. alarm goes off and it's like, oh man, do I really want to go today? And I think with those, it kind of pings back in the back of your mind, like why you're doing it. You know, I'm not going to the water ramps every day to be, you know, the best water ramp jumper in the world. There's this big goal at the end of the rainbow, or at the end of the road, that I'm working towards. And I think even while those days can be hard, knowing that each one of those will eventually pay off to something much bigger than it, that's something that can kind of keep driving that train. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's great to have that in the back of the head, have those goals and kind of those vision and your plan in mind. And you've definitely, even at a very young age, you know, I was one of those first coaches with you when you were 7.
The first.
The first. I remember holding on to the life jacket. I think your dad still got video of it, holding on.
We do,
on the single there, yeah. But you know, it was always one of those things. You're very detailed and the passion and energy, and you always have come to training as long as I've been around you with a smile on your face and just a wanting to learn and a fun-loving kind of mentality. And where does that original passion kind of come in and joy of sport to go for you? I mean, I know, right, Brian has been a huge influence for you. I mean, I think you watched him win bronze in 2010, and that kind of got you. Was that one of those big moments in your life? Like, this is awesome. I kind of want to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, that especially was really what Brian in 2010 kind of kick-started my whole love for freestyle and, more or less for skiing.
Mm-hmm.
At that point. I think, if we even back it up a little further, when I was younger, I loved sports in general. Like, granted, whether I was trying to find the one that fit for me, what one that I was like die hard that I loved. But I did everything. I was a competitive swimmer. I played football and baseball, and I did everything. And I knew there was something down there that I wanted to be in the sports world. I always just loved what it had to offer. I thought there was so much positive energy from it. And then, I think through all of those other ones that I was kind of trying out, through all those, there was something that was always kind of missing. There was never just like that explosion of like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that same 2010, or I guess 2009, 2010 season, I watched Brian win bronze at the Olympics, and at the same time, that's the same year I started with Wasatch Freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I think the two of those combined just kind of lit this passion of, this is really what I love doing. This is what I love spending my time at. And from there, it really kind of morphed into something of, then I learned how to ski. Then I started to learn more how to compete, mm-hmm. and how to, do a whole different side of it, because it's totally different than just going out and skiing a mogul run when it matters, when you have a number on your chest, and kind of finding that love for it where, it does matter and it is important, and trying to be the best at it. That I think both of those have kind of, grown at the same pace to what it is now, and where I just really love it. It's fun.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a great perspective to have on it. And it's one of those things that, a lot of the people guests that I've had on and talked to, at that early age, you really need to have that passion, and you're still at a young age. It's really fun to be able to have you on now and kind of talk to you when you're at this really exciting place in your career. A lot of the people that I've had on before are, they've finished, or they're, hit part of their apex, and different things like that. So it's really fun where you're kind of just tapping into the immense potential and talent that you have. So it's really fun to kind of get you on. I mean, really, your second World Cup season, you kind of got cut short. You didn't even really, it's interesting. Why? I mean, you're lucky in the fact that you at least got a season off and you got to do a few events, right? But I mean, it's one of those things where your second year doing a full World Cup tour, even if it's half tour, I mean, you're top 10 in the world. So, I mean, you get your first podium, and it's really fun from a distance to see that career and your career so far, and just see those stepping stones and your confidence kind of grow from this little 7-year-old now, the soon to be monster kind of moving forward.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bobby. That's nice of you to say.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's true. But in speaking to kind of that, what was this last year on the World Cup tour really like for you? Because I mean, you had your first season, I think you finished 28th in the world, and a lot of big learning experiences. I mean, you got 10th at the home course, Deer Valley, under the lights, which is, I mean, I know you've forerun that course, but to actually go in and compete under the lights with that hometown crowd is definitely a different beast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there was so much great kind of a learning and a transition from my first year to my second year on World Cup. If you think back to that first year I was on in the 2019-2020 season, I don't know, I think the best way you could describe it is I shot a lot of air balls. And I maybe made one basket at Deer Valley, but outside of that, it was, I had the confidence that was there to perform. I was shooting, and they was just hitting nothing, which, in a sense, I think really built up my next season for what it could be. Because, our season was cut short. That 2019-2020 season, we lost our last event in Sweden. Right. And that event, it's not one that anyone ever really thinks about because it never happened. But so we had a singles day going that first day, and I was 28th in the world. I needed to be 24th to compete duels the next day in World Cup finals.
Okay.
And by that time, it was like, it kind of came down to, this is like crunch time, because no one wants to be at the World Cup and then have to miss out on World Cup finals because they aren't in that top 24. And I was struggling performing, when it mattered leading up to it, with kind of an injury that was hindering it, but also just not really feeling myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then that event got cut short, and I was, going into that event with the mindset of like, this is the time to make the move. Like, I need to cut my bib by 4 numbers at a minimum, but let's shoot for something that can really throw me up into that position where I feel like I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
So coming from that, that didn't happen. So I was able to carry that same mindset of like, now is the time to get this done. Let's change something finally. Let's not, just keep shooting air balls. Let's make one hit.
Sure.
And I was able to take that into the whole prep season last year, where I was much more, not necessarily motivated, because there was never a lack of motivation before,
Yeah.
but much more focused and intentional on where all of my energy needed to be, which then, came down to in Ruka last December, where it did matter again. We were back in the competition gate. I was able to start that little segment of the year off with a 10th, a 7th, and a 3rd, which was, considerably better than what I was coming out with the year before, which is pretty cool. It was a nice transition for me to kind of knock all that rust off from what was really my rookie season, and kind of my first kind of break into like, the big league, if you want to put it that way. But
Sure.
Knock all that off, and then kind of take those experiences that I learned and understand, this is where I belong, and I can perform here. But it's not just about performing. Like, I can go out and throw punches with some of the big guys that are here,
Right,
and be able to manage that, which I think that was a big learning piece coming from my first year to my second year.
Yeah. And so not only learning like, hey, because I mean, these are your peers, right? Going into it, you have Mick, and I know I've seen pictures of you with Mick when you were 8, 9 years old, whatever.
Yeah.
And, and then you're going up against these guys, and you're going up against Brad and, some of these people that you've looked up to. And now to be going head to head, how big was that growth for you? I mean, what is that learning experience? Because it's easy to like brush over like, oh yeah, like I learned a lot, and, that helped me. I learned to have more intention and be more focused and kind of be more on the ball. But I mean, what were some of those kind of moments like in the nitty gritty?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because I think there's a lot there that I think happened without me knowing it. And then looking back on it now, I can totally see, how those kind of things influenced me and impacted me to where I am now. But in the moment, obviously they aren't things that you're thinking like, yeah, this in a year or two, this is going to make sense. But right now it doesn't mean anything. But it was a weird experience at first, because it was like, I was someone, I watched every World Cup every year as a kid on NORAMs, and even when I was in regionals. Like, I was up at 4 a.m. live streaming finals and seeing all these guys that, that's my vision of what the best was. And then to get dropped into that little pod in that group at only 17 was something that was, it was like jumping in the deep end. I think that's actually about the best way to put it is, there was this group of people that I loved watching because they were the best. And then I was just dropped into it, being one of those people, and having to kind of think like, well, at first there was still that almost that bit of a feeling of like, these are all superstars. I'm still looking at them like they're celebrities, and they're all these famous guys that I've always been watching, without really realizing that I was one of them too. Now, I was still kind of in the position competing against them and being with them, where I felt like I was still the little guy looking up at them, and they were competing with me watching, rather than all of us competing together.
Yeah.
I think as we moved into the next season, that was kind of a mindset that changed. That was, you know what, I am one of these guys up here. Like, there are kids now watching me. I'm not the one that's, on the TV every morning or on a live stream, whatever.
Yep.
Trying to watch these guys, because I'm living it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the mindset that needs to be there when you're in the position. You have to be confident that you do belong there.
Mhm.
And I think that was something I found definitely my second year, and kind of toward, there were glimpses of it in the first year,
Mhm.
but by that second year, I really felt like I was somewhere where I belonged.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that that's just a natural progression that's going to happen, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it takes a
absolutely.
second for that switch to realize, like, oh yeah, no, I can definitely hang with these guys, and you
Hmm.
certainly do belong. I mean, you had a great season this year, top 10 in the world, and first podium, and things are, as you said, that different start. I mean, it's nice to, and it's interesting to kind of learn that, that event that didn't happen kind of carried over, more of that focus and kind of intention over the summer to really push you along through Ruka and Idra, and really start that season off
Yeah.
like fantastically. I mean, it was great start to the year. And then, I mean, how difficult was it in the fact that the year, I mean, just of dealing with COVID and having to go through, and like, are we going to start today? I mean, I know in Kazakhstan at the end of the
Yeah.
year, you didn't have, you had another race kind of wash out. That was because of weather. But I mean, you had a few different places like Canada that, okay, we're planning on going here. Oh, this start doesn't matter anymore. This start's not happening anymore. A lot of those places that kind of just fell off the wayside. How hard was that to kind of adjust a little bit?
I think, it's definitely speaking on behalf of myself, but our whole community, we had to get very used to living in kind of a liquid and a fluid scheduled world. I know our head coach Macanoza, it drives him crazy because he wants to put something on the books and he wants it to stick there.
Right.
And we did that so many times last year where we were ready to do something and then it was like it fell through and it's like it's not happening, like we need to pivot. Which I think was really hard, especially on the management side of our whole sport, and they got the people that work behind the scenes, not directly on the mogul course, getting us to the places we need to be, because they were juggling a million things and hoping that some of them would happen.
Sure.
Which made it really hard. And on the athlete side of it, we had to kind of I had to come into it with kind of a mindset of like, right now every single event matters. Not by any means that in a normal full year that there are starts that don't matter, everything does, but this one, it's like we maybe get 12 or 13 chances a year to do something, and now we get 5.
Yeah.
So there wasn't, the margin of error, I should say, was much slimmer. Yeah, by no means does an event never matter. They always do.
Yeah,
but
no, I know what you mean.
No, but I think that was definitely something that clicked, and that focus and intensity had to be dialed up really extremely for all of our events last year.
Now, so just in the past couple of years, like, what are some of those unique kind of habits that you would say you've kind of created and kind of learned that have really kind of helped you, and that you continue to use, whether it's kind of planning throughout your week or the day to day with your training?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a lot of things that that go into making kind of me who I am, not only as a person but also a skier and a competitor and all. But I think something I always try to live by is being the hardest worker in every room I'm in. And I think that's a big thing that it's not necessarily a habit of I do this and this and this, but that overarching kind of fundamental quality that I have really goes into everything. Of it doesn't mean I'm going to be the first one to show up to training and the last one to leave. It might doesn't mean I'm lifting the most in the gym. It doesn't, but as much as I can do to help myself and know that I'm putting in all the work that I need, that's really what I think can make someone really successful. Is kind of understanding their needs, and being able to perform on those and do those to the highest degree that I can. I think so many times, and I mean, I've even saw it a lot in my transition onto the US ski team, is I was trying to do things that other people did, thinking that just because it helped them, it would also help me.
Right.
And through that, some of them stuck and it worked, but a lot of them if they did anything, they actually hurt more than anything, because it just broke that confidence down and it made everything feel really unnatural.
Mhm.
Which is hard, because I think, you see people doing all these things that look like they're awesome and they're benefiting them, and for that person, I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
But when it comes back to it being me, if that doesn't benefit me, then there's no reason for me to spend the time and energy on trying to get better at something that's gonna, work in the opposite direction.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, it's certainly true, and it's, I mean, it's fun to hear you learning that process, because that can be something that's very difficult, right? I mean, you say,
Absolutely.
especially coming into the ski team, you want to try and do everything that you can, and going through and learning, like, okay, I got to figure out kind of what's best for me and what works in the moment. Now, where would you say that work ethic, that where does that come from? Because I saw it at a super early age. I mean, is that mom and dad? Is that, but I mean, you've always had such an incredible work ethic and extremely hard worker. So I'm just curious, where would you say that kind of comes from for you?
Yeah, it definitely comes from my parents. They're,
Mhm.
the two hardest working individuals, in my opinion, on the planet. And I think it's hard to beat growing up with something to look up to like that. There's always the people you look up to, and the people that I've always looked up to in the sense of, people that I want to be like my parents, like my coaches. There's that really solid that solid trait that sticks between everyone, is that ability to just outwork everyone and work to the extent that they know will bring in results.
Mhm.
And it's not always guaranteed. Sometimes you could work so hard for something that doesn't happen, and
Mhm.
it sucks. But knowing that the harder you work at something, the more likely it is to happen, that's something that really my parents have both taught me. And a lot of the teachers I grew up with, they kind of instilled that nothing's going to be handed to you, nothing's just given, and everything needs to be worked for, which
Mhm.
I think is one of the traits that makes me um, different,
Yeah.
I'd say.
No, absolutely. Now, I mean, one of those things, I mean, how much does golf help with that for you? Because I know you're a big time golfer. I know Tiger's
Yeah.
a big idol for you. It's someone that you've kind of always looked up to. But I feel like in kind of helping with that mental game, because skiing, as most sports, that mental edge is very important. And I mean, golf is almost all mental. And
Absolutely.
so I'm curious how much in the golf game and has kind of helped you in watching Tiger and some of those other
Mm,
players. I know you got a chance to go watch a practice at the Masters earlier this year,
yeah.
and how much being around those guys and kind of seeing that has kind of helped you a little bit, or what have you taken away from that?
There's a lot, and I think I joke that I golf to help my skiing, which I think is absolutely true. There's the things that come down to it as just being, trying to execute and consistently execute when it matters. If you can hit, and I'm just saying very generally, if you can hit 70 good shots on a golf course, which I don't do, I had a few more than that. I got to preface that, but if you could do something like that and stay consistent a whole round or a whole practice session, then you bring those same skills and those same traits to something like your water ramp day. Can
Mhm.
you go off and hit 20? Can you go off and execute 20? I'm going to say the word perfect, but we got to come back to that. Can you go out and execute 20 perfect jumps in a row that you're happy with?
Mhm.
Because that's the same as playing 18 holes in a row that
Right.
are all good holes. So I think that is one thing that golf's taught me. But then looking at the players on the PGA Tour and at the highest level, there's so much to take from them. Tiger especially, I mean, there is like, I mean, you can argue whatever way you want, but he's the best competitor of all time.
Mhm.
You can't, it's just another gear that he has. And I think if there are things that you can take from that side of a totally different sport, I mean, the body mechanics in golf and mogul skiing, you know, it couldn't be much more different.
Just a little different. Just a little
yeah.
different.
But that mental side of the sport it doesn't change. It doesn't change like, you know, all the other guys on tour that I, you know, like and look up to, like JT and Rory. Everything they do mentally is very similar to what I'm working on in the professional side of mogul skiing, which is really cool.
Now, in kind of speaking to that, like working on that mental game, and you've prepped and you've worked your way, what are some of the kind of new takeaways or some of the new things just in the past from winning US Nationals? Huge confidence boost. I mean, it's your first national title, so you win that, kind of propels you into this off season. And what are some of those little mental things that you learned just from that and kind of going into this summer?
Yeah, no, I think there are a lot, because that Nationals win happened right at the end of the year. You know, I was totally, you know, out of gas by that point. I was ready for a break. The season was long. It got dragged out longer. And then by the end of Nationals, it was time to come in, like execute when it needed to. My goal there was, you know, I had gotten second place at the Nationals before, and I wasn't walking away out of that Nationals with another silver medal around my neck. It wasn't something that I was going to let happen. So to come into that and execute what I wanted to gave a lot of nice, you know, balances to what happened now. I think, you know, I went into that event with the number one bib, which I've never had before, and was able to kind of use that to my advantage. I think of having that be a good piece of confidence, a good confidence builder, rather than something that's like, you know, I got the number one bib, I need to go perform like I'm the number one skier here. It was, you know, really the exact opposite of like, yeah, you know, I earned this and I can go out and show everyone why I earned it. So that's after Nationals, we took a lot out of that. My team and I, and then moving into the, you know, taking that into the season, I think there were a lot of little changes we made to kind of how we were going to approach and individualize my own training, because I think that's something that's really important to me. And with that, I think it's getting us to the point now where we can replicate and execute really consistently when it matters, and trying to make everything matter. It's not like going out hoping that, you know, 8 out of the 10 Corp 14s I do are good. It's, you know, now we're at the time where 10 out of 10 is the goal, and anything other than that is something to work on.
Yeah. So how fun is it to have, I mean, Brian Wilson now, I mean, he coached you before you made the ski team, and now he is with the US ski team as a coach. How fun is that to have him a part of that collaborative process? Because, I mean, he's really, him and Brad have been around, you know, almost as long as I have, I guess, but they've been a little more intimate, I would say, for sure. So, I mean, how cool is that to have him kind of back and helping kind of game plan, and you guys know each other so well. I mean, that's got to be awesome to have that interaction again.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable having Brian back as my official coach. I always joke that he's never not been my coach. Since I've been working with him. I mean, I grew up with him even before he coached for Wasatch Freestyle. I was really lucky. He took me under his wing, and I got to train with him, where yes, he was coaching me, but it was also while he was skiing and competing, and, you know, the two of us skied alongside each other as he was kind of helping me develop. And then through kind of as his transition into from an athlete to a coach happened, he started with Wasatch Freestyle, and I worked with him there for what was I believe two seasons, and then, you know, I made the ski team, and there was never, at least from my end, never a disconnect of my relationship with Brian. I always kept him in the loop, and he was always offering me feedback and what he thought, because it's just because the jacket that I'm wearing is different than his doesn't mean that that the information doesn't matter, or that he doesn't want me to succeed by any means. And I think that's something that is really special with him, especially, is just how, you know, he coaches every single athlete to be their very best. There's never a bias or some sort of outside factor that's going to limit that. Is he wants every person that he can touch to be their very best, which is what, I think it comes within a great coach. So to have him back as my official coach is very nice, and have it between him and Matt, I think I've got everyone on my team that I would like to work with, and that's in my trusted little circle is right there with me, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it is one of those things, even though you're in this individual sport, it really is a team. It's not just you on your own. I mean, you have S&C, you got your coaches, you have parents, you have different advisors. And do you have a sports psych as well?
I don't know. I think between, my coaches in Matt and Brian, and then also my strength coach, Hannah Carney, I think I can take from them all the skills that a sports psych would bring to me.
Sure.
And not necessarily, I don't know if a sports psych would ever be really the best piece to my puzzle. I don't know if it'd ever be the best thing that would work for me personally.
Sure.
But if I can take those skills that a sports psych would offer from the people that I already have within my circle that are really trusted, I think we capitalize on all the things that they have to offer.
Right. And they're able to give you the right information, and clearly those things are clicking for you. I mean, how did that first World Cup podium feel for you? I mean, standing up there and, finally getting on, and pretty quickly. I mean, you had one rookie season and then you were right back in, as we talked. So I'm just curious. I mean, on that work, and there's going to be plenty more, but I'm curious, that first podium's the first podium. How'd it feel? Pretty good.
Yeah. The first podium felt great. And it was a nice testament to how much work, I put in, but also my team around me put in. Because it wasn't just me. Even though I was the one skiing down the mogul course, all of us went into making that happen. And it was a really cool experience too, because I remember going up to that super final, and it was Ben, Brody, myself, Brad, Akuma, and Oscar Ellison, and we were standing up there, and the six of us were in this little pod. We weren't necessarily like chatting and talking, but there was just this feeling around all of us that all of us wanted each other to go out and ski their very best run. None of us were hoping up there that someone screwed up. We were all focused on ourselves and wanting to ski our best and wanting everyone to ski well. So then we could just throw the pieces up and see where they fell, which was a really cool experience, because it was something I'd never felt before. There was never that, just that feeling.
Yeah.
Which was really, really cool. And I think it's something, I've listened to people talking golf about it, but it's very similar there too. I listened to a podcast yesterday that Rory was in, talking about, golf's a game of yourself, the course. So you're competing against the course and yourself,
right? Which
really, in a sense, isn't too much different from what we're doing.
No,
we're trying to ski our absolute best run against this course, against ourselves. And while other people are doing that, we can't affect any of what they're doing.
Sure.
So our only, the only thing that is on our mind is trying to do our best, and then see where the pieces fall, which is really cool. Something that, ties us back into something similar to that golfing mentality, but it's very, very cool.
No, I mean, I think that very cool to be able to hear and speak to those unique experiences that you kind of build. And it's one of those cool environments that many people don't know, right? And it's cool to listen to you talk about it, and the fact that it's just that feeling, right? Everyone's trying to build it, everyone wants to see everybody else's best shot. They don't want everyone to fall or, slice balls left and right. They want everyone's best game, and they want to beat their best game. So I think that's really cool, and definitely sounds like you'll have more of those experiences as well in the future. Now, one of the things I was just curious about for you when it goes into kind of planning and building out summer scheduling or winter scheduling, and I know, as we touched on earlier, you're very detailed. Like, do you go through and do you kind of have your week planned out, or are you a month planner? Because some people will go through and they'll have one thing they want to get done each day, or some people are very detailed in mapping out an entire week. Some people are detailed in mapping out an entire month. And I know with skiing, and as those goals go, it can change from, obviously you have your season goals and things of that nature. But I'm just curious, when you're going through your training and things like that, how do you kind of like to tackle those goals or what you want to accomplish?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thing to think about. I don't know if I've ever thought about it in that sense of putting it to something like the calendar year. Because I think our schedules can be so unique in the fact that, like, but okay, so I had a 2-week ramping camp that I'm finishing up right now, and then a little bit of a break before we go to snow. And in my mind, I'm not seeing it necessarily as Monday to Friday or a week or a month. I'm seeing it as 2 weeks to accomplish the goal of this ramping camp, which is executing everything, keeping everything dialed up and where it needs to be to take to snow, and then being able to finish that and work really hard in the gym until it's time to get back to snow. So there isn't necessarily a time focus on it. I've read a quote, or I was in a book before that talked about, we're trying to manage my focus, not necessarily my time.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important because that's something we can control. You can't control how much time you have to do something, but if you start at point A and you say, I'm not done until I accomplish it. I'm gonna focus as much as I need to finish that as fast as I can. Yeah. It's not gonna be letting that drag out into something that needs to be longer, or maybe even shorter if you're not paying as much attention as you should.
Yeah, I think that's I like the quote, and managing.
Yeah, I think it was who was it? It was by Tim Grover.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's definitely a good one. I'm curious, what other podcasts do you kind of listen to, and things of that kind of help with that? I mean, I'm sure golf is one of those that really has to really help, because it is such a mental game, as we touched on earlier, and to kind of, I think it's nice when you're able to get the long form rather than like a cut, like 2-minute clip or something like that.
Yeah.
And actually hear Rory go in and explain kind of his approach because I mean, that for those guys, I mean, it's similar to skiing, and the fact that having that same routine can really make a big difference.
Absolutely. No, I think I'm just kind of starting to get into podcasts now. I've never it's always been something that I've gone to podcasts when I start getting annoyed by the music I'm listening to, just because I've heard it so much. It gives me a break. But I think there's so much great content to pull stuff from. I think I'm watching The Last Dance right now for the 5th time, because I think there's so much value and so much information that I can take just as a competitor from that. So, I know you talked about the golfers, but people like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant are some of the biggest people I've looked up to on that work ethic, on how to compete and how to, get to really where we want to be. And, everyone wants to win in some way. And how can you do that in a way like what winners do? And I think taking the skills and kind of seeing what they do and how that works, because they've done it. It's easy for someone to say all these things, like you got to do X, Y, and Z to be successful, but then you kind of hear that person say it, and you're like, well, like, you're telling me to do all this stuff, but you haven't done it yourself. Like, there's a great quote in The Last Dance where MJ says, I've never asked any of my teammates to do something that I wouldn't be willing to do myself, or that I haven't done myself.
Right.
And that's what really kind of hits home, is like, everything that, all this knowledge that I'm pulling from them, they've all done it. So it works. It's not, barking up the wrong tree.
Sure.
Because this path does lead to something that works, and it is something really important. So there's a ton of knowledge and kind of just information I've pulled from them that's really helped.
Yeah. No, I mean, Jordan, that documentary is, or the docu-series, I guess it is just awesome. That came out at a great time too, right? They released it early during the pandemic, and that was like, unbelievable. It was funny growing up a Bulls fan in Utah because I was such a big Jordan fan. You know, I had a lot of people giving me, you know, death stares and stuff like that when we'd be walking around in Park City and I would have, you know, a Jordan jersey on or something like that.
Especially like 97, 98, man.
Right around then. So, you know, coming from New York and then repping the Jordan stuff, it was definitely getting a lot of weird looks from people.
I'm
not understanding like, wow, Jordan's the man. Like, what's not to like? So, and kind of speaking to that, who are some of those other people that have really kind of helped you along the way in your career? You know, we've touched a little bit on Tiger, your parents, Brian, like are there a couple others that you can think back on that have really kind of helped create the monster that is Nick Page?
Yeah, no, there absolutely are. There's that list goes on and on of the people that have contributed to who I am. Another big name was Michael Phelps. I always, you know, looked up to him as I was younger, and really as it was one of kind of my first Olympic memories was watching him in 2008. I loved that. But then, you know, outside of, you know, people that I'm just looking up to, people that really affected me close, like, you know, face to face and around where I was the whole organization at Wasatch Freestyle. You know, Rick Shaner, John O'Brien, I can say very confidently I wouldn't be the person I am without the two of them.
Yeah.
In the mix. I mean, as a person and as a skier, obviously, but the two of them have really both always taken me under a special wing where I've always known without a doubt that they've had my back.
Yeah.
You know, they've always been these leaders that I had 100% trust in no matter what the scenario was. And with that, I think we were able to build such a great relationship where they could, you know, they could really kind of foster me into, you know, not only a better skier, not only a better competitor, but a better person. And that's something that Wasatch Freestyle has done so well, and really what Wasatch Freestyle is all about.
Yeah.
You know, John has a quote in one of his little advertisements. You know, we build great, we've built great doctors, great lawyers, and you know, now I think with Gabe Cohen, you can even say great rocket scientists. But that's something that Wasatch Freestyle has really special to them, that they they build great people.
No, absolutely. And I mean, John and Shaner, known them for a very long time. They helped me a ton in my career. I mean, you know, absolutely. Shaner, I learned how to jump somehow from Rick Shaner. If he can get me to jump somehow against all odds, I mean, Shaner is a genius, clearly. No, but those guys are great. They've done a great job, and they continue to do that. You know, it's fun being out at the ramps and interacting not only with you up there, but just seeing Shaner and John and those guys kind of up in their element. You know, it's one of those things that you see it in all sports, but you know, when it's your sport and you really get to see those coaches that care at a very in-depth level and really want to get the most, you know, and Brian's that same way, and getting the most out of each and every athlete, and really truly caring. Clearly not in it for the money. Someday
we're gonna change that.
So kind of what are some of those next steps for the rest of the fall? You know, as you touched on a little bit earlier, going to be a little bit of a fluid situation. Hopefully get over and get some fall training in, and then Ruka is going to be your first stop of the year, right?
Yep, Ruka will be the start. The plans to continue water ramping here the rest of this week and a little bit in September. Then you know, we'll get off to snow later in the fall, see what we can do there. And by then, you know, get back home, get healthy, get, you know, as prepared as we can in the gym. You know, me and my strength coach, Hannah, have joked that, you know, we're building all of this up in the prep season. So then once the season starts, we can lose. We can lose as little as possible. Right. That's the goal. Yeah. So from, you know, when we go over to snow to compete to the end of the year, we're trying to just maintain. But right now we're trying to get strong. We're trying to, you know, just do everything we can to be ready when the starter in Ruka counts down 3, 2, 1. And then by Ruka, it's go time, where, in the swing of things, getting back in a bib, which I can't wait for. It's going to be so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, RVCA has to hold a little bit of a special place. I mean, you're the first American to throw Cork 14 there, and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my first
be...
World Cup was there. It's a very special place.
Yeah, that's
say the
pretty,
least.
and it's pretty exciting. And so, eyes set for Beijing coming up. I mean, do you have any expectations or plans for what that experience might be like? I mean, obviously, you got to build and continue to train and everything else, but I mean, as a former athlete, you always have those goals and those visions of where you want to be and what you want to do. And to have Brian, who's kind of been there, done that before, to kind of help you along, and Coach Ganoza as well, they've been been to the Olympics and seen all that. And how much does that kind of excite you for the next winter coming up here? It'll be your first crack at potentially making an Olympics and getting to go through that experience.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. Very excited, to say the least. And it's all there's lots of nerves that go into it, but they're all good nerves. They're nerves of I'm excited to get to this point so I can showcase what I've been working on. And there is a heavy qualifying process that we're gonna have to go through, but I can, I like to think I'm very capable of getting to where I want to be during that time. And then by that point, it's let's go off and show off the fireworks, show everything that I've done to get here, to let this be really exciting. And I've got so many great people around me kind of helping me with that, because Hannah's been in the same position. She went to 3 Olympics and came out of 2 of those with medals. Brian went to an Olympics, came out of it with medals. Matt has been head coach of an Olympics and attended more than one. So there's so much knowledge to pull from all of them, because they've lived it and they've been in that experience, and they can really help kind of guide me down the right path to get there as well.
Well, I'm excited to watch and see what happens, my man. I appreciate you you taking the time. And what charity are we is In the Arena going to be donating to?
So In the Arena, where are we putting it? I think the best spot I can think of is the ID1 Foundation, which I've been a part of and a supporter of, absolutely. But their goal is to help kind of take some of the financial burden off of athletes trying to be their very best. As it started, it was when the US ski team was unfunded, so we were trying to get funding and get opportunities really to the best athletes in the country, so they could go out and perform at the highest level. And now that that's transitioned on, and a ski team is funded in a different way, where we're not as stressed for those means at the highest level. Now the ID1 Foundation can really help grow the next generation, the kind of that tier under the US ski team, and getting them paying for the entry fee to nationals, and helping out with grants and all these little scholarship opportunities that make such a big difference. Because while it doesn't just help you and your family, obviously, with the financial side of it, it gives you a great organization and a great group of people in your corner that you always know are supporting you. Because the ID1 Foundation was built because everyone wants to see the best. We want every kid to have the opportunity to be their best. And if we can help alleviate any of the things that might take away from that, it's something that's very special to the foundation, and appreciative that you donate to them, and that I could be the one to pick. So thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for coming on, my man. I really do appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of summer training, and look forward to seeing you later this fall.
Well, thank you, Bobby. It's been great talking to you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.